All right, let's review Batman vs Superman: The Extended Cut. Um, I'm wearing a Nightwing shirt because it was Superman who gave Robin the idea to become Nightwing, which kind of bridges the two together. So I thought I'd throw that in here as an Easter egg. Uh, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. First we're gonna discuss the good because there's a lot less good than there is bad. Um, all right, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohan playing the Kent. I mean, not playing the Kents. That's ridiculous. But playing the Waynes, Bruce's parents here. I thought that was pretty cool since they both come from Walking Dead and they both came from Supernatural before that. That was cool. Uh, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan has also been in another Zack Snyder movie, which was The Watchmen as the comedian. That was cool. It'd probably be kind of cool to see him as an Elseworld Batman or maybe Lobo. But let's discuss the film, not all that other junk. Uh, I thought, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I really thought that Ben Affleck, I dreaded it when I heard it announced because we've seen him play Daredevil. We've seen him try to take the darker hero route before, and it failed miserably because that film is a horrible piece of crap. Uh, And it's not due to Ben Affleck. Let's be honest. Nobody can blame Ben Affleck for that. I mean, it was, well, maybe they can. I don't know if he was involved with the writing and all that. That movie was terribly written. Let's move on. But Ben Affleck here as Batman, I thought he was incredibly exceptional. He didn't have a lot of he didn't have a lot to like story wise. He didn't have a lot to work with to really you know, but he did write a lot of his own lines and stuff, and I thought all his lines were pretty good. Uh, the costume for this movie, this is the first time we actually get to see a live action Batman where he can actually move around and stuff, and I really like this the darker black, the gray and black costume way better than just straight up black stuff they always have in the other movies. It really reminds me of Batman the Animated Series, and I really enjoyed that series. So this live action Batman, I thought it was pretty awesome in terms of that he could move around, and in terms that he wasn't the voice that Christian Bell. Don't get me wrong, Christian Bell is a great Batman, but the voice he uses, it's pretty headache inducing after hearing it a bit. And he could never really move around. His fight scenes were always pretty clunky, and the previous Batmans before him, their fight scenes were always pretty lackluster. So for me, this is the definite like Batman, and not necessarily Ben Affleck, but in terms of the costume and how it can move around and how it's tactically designed, you know, and it looks muscular, it looks buff, it looks intimidating. Uh, I really thought he was a great Batman, a really good, strong, best live action version of Batman. Uh, I do not like all the murderous stuff, all the branding and all that stuff. If you didn't have all that, this would have been a really strong Batman. I mean, the dream sequences and junk in this movie are stupid. You got, Clark Kent with his dream sequence, which was the worst Jonathan Kent, in my opinion, ever. This Jonathan Kent, I don't want to see him in a dream sequence in this movie. I want to forget he ever existed. Uh, and the dream sequence with like Batman in the future using guns and shooting all these people. I don't agree with any of this murderous Batman stuff. Uh, Batman not using guns is a big part of who he is psychologically. He's devastated, and his whole life has stemmed from this gun issue. It's taken a whole different direction and all that, and not using guns is a big, huge part of who Batman is. Um, and they cover that pretty well in all the animated stuff. The Batman '90s series, the Batman, Beyond series, the Justice League, and all that. Not using guns is a big part of who Batman is, and I do like the dialogue here between Alfred and Bruce. I thought all that stuff was pretty good. Uh, unfortunately, you don't really get to see him in too much of a Bruce Wayne role to figure out how he is as Bruce himself. Uh, that was one of my big problems with the Christian Bale movie is that when you do see him as Bruce Wayne, he's just kind of dickish. I would much rather see the way Bruce Wayne was in the '90s animated series. That here, Batman's pretty good. All the fight scenes with him and stuff are pretty strong. The murderous stuff, though, that's stupid and needs to go. So that's pretty much my opinion on Batman here. The branding of people and criminals and the murderous stuff, that was all pretty stupid. Another problem I have is the Robin costume was pretty cool to see it painted up with the ha 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 and learn that there was a Robin in here and he was murdered by Joker, just like in the comic books. But there's a gravestone that indicates that it was Dick Grayson, the original Robin, instead of Jason Todd, which is stupid in my opinion. You can't kill off Dick Grayson, man, and that was dumb. That's I'm a big fan of Dick Grayson, so that really pisses me off. Nightwing's awesome, and in this universe, you'll never get him, um, unless they want to just you know throw that out and debunk it because they didn't actually show anything or really say anything, so that there's still a opportunity for them to just throw that out the window and go back to it being Jason Todd is the one who died. But Superman in this movie, like Henry, he's great as Superman. They don't give him anything to they don't give him anything to work with or really. I mean, in the extended version, he gets this little fleshed out arc of him being Clark Kent, the reporter and stuff, but they don't give him any like comedy or really anything to make him interesting or expressive. And that's not Henry's fault. That's the writing and all that. They give him nothing to really express himself as Clark Kent or as Superman. And Superman's supposed to be a symbol of hope. See, where they really dropped the ball in here is they went all dark. They went all dark, oppressive, and they didn't capture the contrast very well. Everybody's like afraid of Superman, what he can do, what he's gonna be. You never get to see Superman doing really anything really heroic that makes him the icon he is. Yeah, you see him like save Lois, and you see like him do a little bit here and there, but nothing really heroic. And they don't capture the contrast between the two well. Superman is supposed to be day, symbol of hope, symbol of tomorrow. Uh, Batman's supposed to be the Dark Knight, the symbol of fear. They don't capture that contrast well at all. They put them both in the same tone. The whole movie's depressing, oppressive. Uh, and that just really sucks, man. And they put Jimmy Olsen in here just to kill him off because it felt like Jimmy Olsen had nothing to do in this universe. Come on, man, that was stupid. That was dumb. That was retarded. You cannot, you cannot now. You really trying to do a Superman universe, like trying to do a Man of Steel trilogy. You're making that really difficult to do. And it'll probably never happen. And even if it did, guess what? You killed Jimmy Olsen. You made him a CIA operative, and you killed him, man. Superman's greatest pal. So yeah, that was like a kick in the nuts because I really like Jimmy Olsen, and Jimmy Olsen is somebody who's not just friends with Superman. He's friends with people like Kyle Rayner, which is a Green Lantern. Uh, Lois just kind of feels like she's here. She really has nothing to do. Yeah, she gets her own little subplot about you know, fo- following the trail of a bullet and stuff, and figuring out. And there's all kinds of problems with that whole thing right there, because Superman doesn't use bullets, and all these people were killed by bullets, and just trying to frame him for a crime that involved a bunch of people being killed by bullets, and trying to say that, hey, it's him. It's just really, really dumb. Uh, And Lois Lane largely has nothing to do in this movie, and I still don't like the casting they chose as Lois Lane. The I much prefer a darker haired Lois Lane and give her something real to do. Perry White, Lawrence Fishburne's an awesome actor, but and he plays Perry White pretty well in here. But the problem is it's race change just to try to like say, oh, we need people of color to attract people of color. When they do stuff like that, maybe that's stupid and it's insulting to black people, uh, and it's insulting to fans who know Perry White as a white dude. I mean, and it's not. I mean, white isn't his name, so it's pretty much not something that you're not gonna notice. That bothered me. Lawrence Fishburne's acting was pretty strong, pretty good though. Um, oh man, let's talk about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor because this is dumb. Like, they made him the more modern Lex Luthor, where he has all the money and he's a businessman and all that. And yeah, but they also made him the Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, mad scientist type of Lex Luthor. That's like he flails around and he's all hyper and excited and he has like trivial historical questions and stuff. He comes off like the damn Riddler, man. Like Jim Carrey's the Riddler or something. This is a terrible. Somebody should have told him on set, stop, man. Just stop. Whatever you're doing with this character, that that doesn't work. That's not what we're doing. Get the if you cannot stop yourself from acting this weird strange way, then you need to get the hell off set and we'll find a better Lex Luthor. uh they passed out Bryan Cranston for this dude, which makes no sense. Personally, if I was gonna do cast a Lex Luthor, and some people might have some complaints with this because he is in a lot of B movies and junk, but I would have gone with what's his name, David Blaine, because he looks like the the Lex Luthor from the '90s animated series, and he can be calm and businesslike. I would have gone with him, man. And due to all the devastation that happened in the first movie, people looking at Superman like some kind of god figure, like this big, imposing, intimidating threat, and some people are even looking at him like a god, and people are terrified of him and all the destruction he caused, and they're like worried about what he might do next and all that. And they're like, this isn't the Superman, this isn't how Superman should be. You have all this controversy surrounding him and stuff, and you have Superman like just all sad and depressed, and he's like, "Mom, people don't like me," and come on, man, Superman's supposed to be this really lighthearted thing that you know is there for everybody. He's there for the people, and the people should love him, not hate him. Not this soon into the trilogy, anyway, or into the universe. I mean, that man, come on. It's like, damn. Uh, and then there's other stuff in here like it's just the Lex Luthor thing is really a huge problem. I mean, from Superman, look, they did this all wrong. You know, I didn't hear any real like dialogue in there mentioned or anything. But like, if you had Superman destroy Metropolis, pretty much trying to save Metropolis in the first city, this is your perfect opportunity to boast Lex Luthor, like say he rebuilt half of the city after the destruction, and like have him looked at like a hero and stuff. And you know, you could have done a lot of different interesting things with Lex Luthor. Instead of him just wanting to take out Superman and stuff because an ego thing. Could have done a lot of interesting things. You could have had him. They found out about the kryptonite and all this stuff, and they found out that around some bad. You could have done this in a whole different different way, man. A whole different way. You It's kind of Lex Luthor would have tried to bargain with Superman. Would have went about it a whole different way, like try to appeal to him and who he is as a person, try to get them to work together. And when Superman finds out about his shady stuff and like doesn't want to have anything to do with him, you have him like set up these tests and these trials to try to figure out what can stop the Man of Steel. You could have had a whole thing like that in there. This Jesse Eisenberg as Superman is a stupid, stupid idea. It's really ridiculous. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants it. Everybody can see that it's a problem. How could you not? Um, and just the depressing overall tones of the movie is just the action scenes. All the action scenes and stuff were great, but it's like the Justice League in here is just incredibly shoehorned into the movie. You got Batman receiving this email with all these symbols attached to it, and all these files on each different person. And it's just uh, even Wonder Woman was like shoehorned into this movie. They just put her in there, put her in there. I mean, Wonder Woman has had relations with both Batman and Superman, so it's not too much of a stretch to put her in there like this and all that. But it's just we've barely had Superman. We know nothing about this Batman really. We get his origins, you know, and we get that he's established and he's been in here a long while and they have a bad signal and all that and but you know they handled the Batman stuff pretty well on that front, like how establishing him into this movie and stuff. But the problem is you have not had Superman long enough for him to be anything, for him to be a symbol of hope, or anything like. And then to we'll get into that other part, but Superman should have been well established as this symbol of hope, this symbol of tomorrow, this guy that saves all the little people and stuff like that, and does all these incredibly heroic things, and is very lighthearted and honest. And oh man, man, man. That the problem is they don't set him up like that in any way at all, really, and they kill him off at the end of this movie uh, with this really bizarre doomsday. Like, he looks like crap. He is intimidating and stuff like that, and very powerful and great threat. And the battle scenes between them are pretty cool and awesome. And uh, but it's way too soon, man. It's way too soon. And to say that Lex Luthor just like created this guy this fast, and he sets up this whole situation where like, I'm gonna kill your mother if you don't go kill Batman. And Batman has a problem with Superman already, you know. And Superman has this problem with Batman. He thinks he's crossing the line and all that stuff. And Batman thinks that Superman is too dangerous to have around. Uh, that, that So they go off into this fight and stuff, and nobody says to any, like, Superman doesn't say to Batman at all anything like, "Hey, they got my mom, man. Uh, he told me I have to kill you. I have to bring back your head. They got my mom, and they're using her as a bargaining chip." Like, he doesn't say that. They just go into this fight. Um, and what stops the fight is him saying Martha. And a lot of people got a lot of problems with this and stuff. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. You have to realize that Batman is essentially uh, a child. He's emotionally stunted. He lives in this weird world, like where he's let it consume him. Becoming the Batman has consumed him and all that, and losing his mother was one thing that triggered all this and that, and you know they, yeah, and it ties into all the murder, like not murdering, and that then it kind of like gets convoluted. Like it's not too much of a stretch to say that the name Martha would stop him and make him question why you said that name, and then he finds out this guy who people fear, who's dressing up in a costume trying to save lives, is being judged like me and all this. So it's not too much of a stretch, but it could have been done better. Uh, I personally don't have no problem with it. Honestly, I have a problem with so much else in this movie. And then you have that awesome action scene where Batman's going off and he's taking down all these criminals and stuff, and he's using the Batwing, and like the Batmobile. All that stuff's pretty cool in here. It's not personally what I would have done, but it's good. It's good, but I don't like Batman killing and all that stuff. It doesn't agree with me. I don't like Superman. Like early in this movie, Superman punches a guy that has Lois Lane hostage and and like launches his ass, and there's no way that guy's not dead. There's no way that guy's not dead. The Superman and the Batman in this movie are murderous. Uh, and they even try to kill each other, and the way Wonder Woman like kind of shows up for the fight, it just felt like Avengers Assemble or Power Rangers Assemble type thing. But I did like the music and when they're all standing there together. The music really amps up the fight as they go into it. And Wonder Woman was incredibly impressive in this movie. But shoehorning in all the other Justice League stuff and all that, and all these characters, Batman, Wonder Woman, these other Justice League members that Batman gets a file on, all this stuff. It's way too much. Just if you're gonna do a Batman versus Superman, let's just get it down to that Batman versus Superman, because you haven't established either one of these characters really solo. Man of Steel didn't establish Superman as Superman. Like they had one big scene that tore apart the city. He had to fight Kryptonians. But you haven't really established him as this hero for the people. This dude who does all these heroic and savior like things, and uh, it just wasn't done well. Uh, and Batman, you haven't established him in his own thing either. This new Batman, you've established who he is. I'd say fairly well in this movie. A better job than Superman Clark Kent, unfortunately. Uh, but we never get really Superman or Clark Kent or any of that. Like Superman should be loved by the people, uncontested. He should be loved by the people, uncontested, at the point of his death, like before he dies. So that way, it is a tragic, devastating loss to absolutely everybody that this man just died. Uh, and that's the way you should have done it, but you didn't. You screwed it up. Uh, you didn't really establish Superman's whole world, like all the characters. Like you have Turpin, Maggie Sawyer. You have what's his name, Bobo or something, like the fisherman that loves Superman. Jimmy Olsen. You got other characters like Cat Grant. Uh, uh, it's just and when it comes to making people hate Superman, what's his name? It's like Drew Goddard or something that secretly is an agent of Apocalypse, and he runs this news network, and he's all trying to turn people against Superman and stuff. That would have been a much better way to set that up. In terms of action and quality, action and production quality and stuff like that, like that's all very great and very impressive. But it's just the character flaws, the tones, like you need to have that contrast night and day, and you can have like it meshed together when they're together, but otherwise you got to keep it separate. You got to have Metropolis and everything going on with Superman like all bright and sunny, not this gray filter or whatever the hell you're using on the movie that just makes it feel like this depressing atmospheric thing. uh, and in Batman's world you have it all dark, you have it all dark and violent, and Superman's it's all light, hopeful. No, contrast wasn't done well. There's a lot of problems in this movie. Just so many problems, man. And there's a lot of useless stuff. Like a lot, the timestamp on this movie for the extended version is 3 hours long, and there's a lot of largely useless stuff that could have been cut short, could have been done in a better, clever way to get to your point. And you have things that are largely dependent on coincidence and convenience, because Lex Luthor doesn't know anything about Superman not being able to see through lead, and the Obama, the wheelchair guy, is lined with lead. That's why Superman doesn't see it. But how would Lex Luthor know that? Did he know that? Was it just coincidence? Was it just luck to make so he couldn't X-ray vision it or whatever? And then the bomb getting through the metal detector and all that. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. The movie is really, really long, and there's a lot of stuff that just is unnecessary, largely unnecessary, and could have been replaced by things that are more like fleshing out who Clark Kent is, fleshing out what Superman is to the world as a whole, giving him scenes where he's heroic, he's saving people, people are loving him, people are praising him, and you have him doing all this while you got this like Drew Goddard dude that's secretly an agent of Apocalypse trying to ramp up people's hate for him, like in the media and all that. You could have done it that way, but they're so threatened by Marvel. Like they've seen how Marvel got their universe off the ground and all that. Marvel worked towards a goal. They laid out all the building blocks individually and then stacked them together. And DC, they saw how that was working for Marvel, and then they just wanted to rush this. Like they I don't know, they rushed it. They did it wrong. They didn't pace themselves and were impatient to collect off the cash, collect off the idea, to collect off the shared universe thing. And they just crammed everybody in here, man. Crammed everybody in here. And they really screwed up. There's a lot of things I could point out in this movie, but mainly those are like the main ones that I really wanted to point out that are wrong with this film. Um, Jesse Eisenberg probably being the largest grievance I have with this film. Like, get that dude out of here now. Who the hell does he think he's playing? Does he even? I don't know what the hell this guy was thinking. I don't know what any of these people were thinking. This movie is just this depressing thing. But the Batman was actually really incredibly well. A lot of people would disagree with me about that. But, hey, it is what it is. I thought the Alfred was pretty good too. Not who I would have went with for a casting choice, but whatever. And the Batcave stuff, all that was awesome. But, he just didn't give us enough Superman in his own world, and you tuck these long little subplots and all these other plots, like the way Lex Luthor went about everything, the way all these other characters, just damn it, man, why the hell did you make a movie so long to give so little, and when you could have done it better in shorter ways, and oh shit. Uh, this movie sets up the Justice League uh, movie only by shoehorning in everything and hurting this movie itself. The plots, the character development, the character motivations. Like, uh, Uh, bet they do accurately like depict Batman's origins and stuff like that, and they bring the Kryptonian, like the effects it has, into this world, and bet it sucks, man. Uh, had not movies like Avengers already existed and stuff, maybe I would have felt differently about this. And it's not just like I don't like things in a dark tone, because I really, really like Watchmen. But somebody needs to tell Zack Snyder that every movie is a Watchmen. Uh, this I'm gonna give this movie a 5 out of 10, just because the Batman. It was the best Batman live action, like in terms of fighting that I've ever seen. Uh, it's largely just because the Batman stuff and the Wonder Woman stuff. Like Batman and Wonder Woman were great, but everything else, they went about it all wrong. They did it all wrong. They drug it out. They shoehorned everything in here. There was great fights, great fight choreography, great use of Batman, great world building on his side of things that established, him as a vigilante who's had this as a career for a while. They established that well, set up his whole part of the world well. Uh, but uh, they and Superman, he's good, but man, 5 out of 10. I'd give it a higher rating, but everything on Superman's side isn't done well at all. And shoehorning the Justice League in here is unnecessary. Save that for the Justice League film itself. Anyways, 5 out of 10. Like, subscribe, comment, share your opinions. Uh, check out my GoFundMe and my PayPal link. I'm not monetized. If you want to support my channel, those are ways to do so. Just thanks for viewing, though, primarily. Stay awesome. Rock on.